Hey everybody, check it out! This is the new 2025 Range Rover Velar. This is a very swoopy, elegant looking vehicle, but it's also an SUV covered in Land Rover badges, which can only mean one thing, Jen.
We're going to find out if this can actually take on some off-road capabilities or if it's really meant to be on road.
So today is a really exciting day because we got a new character on the channel. Everybody say hi to Jen.
Hi guys, I'm Jen.
So Jen is a car enthusiast. She's been working for a major OEM for a bunch of years now, and we're really excited to have her on board. So this is our first video, and she's gonna do a great job.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right, folks, so this is the TFL slip test. So what we're gonna do is we're going to get various wheels stuck on purpose in these rollers to see how the all-wheel drive system reacts to get us unstuck. Now, Jen, this Range Rover has a bunch of different drive modes, so walk us through what I got going on here.
So we've got normal, we've got sand, mud ruts, and gravel and snow.
That's right, and we also have a dynamic mode as well for on-road. Now the way we run this test is we're going to start in comfort, and if we get stuck in comfort, then we can start engaging some of the off-road modes. But basically we want to drive this vehicle like you would every day to simulate what it would be like driving in snow, slush, ice, the typical environments. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into reverse. This is the front wheel slip test, so both front wheels are going to be stuck in the rollers. The rear axle is going to have to engage to get us unstuck. Now, the testing procedure takes a little bit of finesse here, so we're going to gently back onto these rollers, and you feel that like
there it goes.
Lurch. Yeah, so we're in the groove, then we're going to go ahead, set the vehicle in a neutral, let it get settled, and then drive and slowly accelerate out like if you were stuck in the snow. And let's see what happens. And onto the gas. Okay, so that was no drama.
Pretty good.
So what we learned there is like the rear axle was engaged, ready to go, just pulled us off.
Easy.
Next test is the diagonal slip test. So the left front and the right rear are stuck. We're gonna have to use some brake-based traction control to get us unstuck. And Jen, what kind of tires are we running on this Range Rover?
We've got Michelin Latitudes on this car.
Now, the Velar can be had in a couple different suspension configs. Is this on the steel springs or the air suspension?
Air suspension.
All right, cool. So that's gonna change the ride quality. We're gonna see what that means off-road and on-road in a sec as well. So settled in the rollers, diagonal slip test. This is very applicable, like if you're crawling up a snowy curb, if you're off-road in some ruts, right? Still in the comfort program like you drive this car every day. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get unstuck. So we're settled into drive, onto the throttle. Okay, so now we're just starting to get like a little bit of that slip.
A little bit.
Do you feel that? But not a ton, and we were able to pull ourselves down. So
easy.
Easy. So far, this Range Rover is just acing it. We're gonna bring it up a notch or two.
Let's do it.
Jen, next test, what do we got positioned under the Range Rover?
Well, we have 3 wheels stuck. The only one that's free is the right front.
Gotcha. Okay, so all of the torque is gonna have to go to that one wheel.
That one wheel.
So this is a pretty extreme test.
Let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes. All right, settled into drive, still in comfort mode, onto the throttle.
Ooh.
Yeah, you feel that?
Ooh, it's trouble. Not happy.
So it's not having it in comfort mode. So let's try one of the rock settings. What do you think we should go into? Grass, gravel, snow, mud, and ruts, or sand?
That's a good question. Do you think grass, gravel, snow?
Yeah, I think we should give that a try. So that's going to change the traction control programming, and we also have the ability to go to a low traction launch. So let's go yes on that. Low traction launch on, gradually apply accelerator until the vehicle moves away from a resting position. Okay, so let's see if that changes our performance here. So that's engaged now. I'm applying throttle. Ho-ho!
Here we go.
Pretty cool.
We are free.
So what we noticed there is it felt like the vehicle was kind of fighting against the brakes, but that was the Range Rover actuating that ABS pump and the brake pump to actually distribute braking force where it was needed to get us unstuck.
That's perfect.
Awesome. So low traction launch really does have an impact on vehicle performance. We got one more 3-wheel test though, so let's cut to that now. The final test, what do we got going on, Jen?
Well, we got the right rear is free, everything else on rollers.
You got it, exactly right. So I'm gonna back onto the rollers. Okay, cool. So, we got low traction launch still engaged. It's actually cool here. You can see the suspension
Yeah.
in its different articulated settings, which is pretty cool. So low traction launch engaged. Let's see what kind of off-road modes we got. Let's try a different one just for giggles.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go into off-road modes.
So we still got mud ruts and sand.
So sand is going to loosen up the stability control, which is not really what we want.
Right.
So let's try mud ruts. It's going to raise the suspension as well.
Yep.
So I'm also going to go ahead and push this little button here, which is kind of like off-road cruise control, similar to the Toyota crawl control setup, where the car is going to figure out how to get itself unstuck, and I can adjust the speed using the cruise control settings. So I'm going to set it here to a certain number of miles an hour. Okay, there it goes. So that's all the car.
Wow, that was pretty quick. That was pretty quick.
Yeah, so what happened there is I used the buttons on the steering wheel, set a speed on this trail control setup, and then it all just lets the car figure out what to do, and it was like immediate.
That was perfect.
Works really good.
Yeah. With the car up on the lift, we can start talking about the engine and other specs.
That's right. So Jen, walk us through the powertrain in this Range Rover.
So this Velar has a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine pushing out 247 horsepower.
That's right, but it's not the only engine option, right? Because there is a bigger version.
We do have an inline 6 that is turbocharged and supercharged, 3-liter.
Yeah, and that's close to 400 horsepower. Now this one is just the base version with that 4-cylinder. What's kind of cool about this though is unlike some of the Japanese competition that are transversely mounted, this is longitudinally mounted, so the engine kind of goes front to back, which is similar to some of this vehicle's competition, like the Porsche, which is the
Macan,
and then the BMW as well, right?
the X3.
Yeah, and both of those are available in 4 and 6-cylinder configurations. But let's talk a little bit about some of the other specs underneath this car. So it's a fully independent suspension setup, front and rear. And what's the wheel size on this one?
We got two 65, 45, 21s.
Yeah, so monster wheel on this Range Rover, which is probably not going to help us off-road, but we're going to get it on-road as well and see what that performs like. So Jen, you can get this Range Rover in a couple of different suspension systems, so walk us through what's on this Velar.
That's right. So on this Velar, we have adjustable ride height on air springs. However, you can get fixed steel springs.
That's right, yeah. And what's cool about this, it's pretty beefy lower control arm setup, right? All aluminum, but really some nice sized control arms, which look good. Now, when we talk about underbody protection, like there is some shielding, but that, I don't know if I would trust that on a rock.
It's not very substantial, that's for sure.
No, we got this like little composite cover underneath the engine and the transmission, and then all the way back we're also going to find more of this, but I would suspect, Jen, this is more for aero than anything else, huh?
Yeah, that's not thick at all, Tommy.
What is nice is that the drive shaft is tucked super up high, so nothing dragging super low. And then as we make our way to the rear end, same kind of setup with being independent, right? And then this is kind of a fun thing. Jen, dual exhausts.
True dual exhaust.
Well, I mean, it's got a single and a 2, but
I suppose.
From this part back, true duals, if you just look like that. So Jen, I think we proved that this 4-wheel drive system works really well in the controlled environment.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it just kicked butt. But now we're going to see how it performs in the real world by taking it through some obstacles in the Onyx Off-Road Andres pit course. So what we're going to do is raise the suspension up. So I think we can do that here. So we're in off-road height.
Yep.
Off-road height 2. And then what kind of off-road mode do you think we should use for our logs course?
So we got the grass, gravel, snow, mud ruts, and sand. Are you thinking? I'm thinking mud ruts.
I like mud ruts, yeah. I mean, there's no like log program.
No, not so much.
Obviously. And we can also try our hill descent control, which we can click on like that. So let's go into drive and see what the ride quality is like. Now, Jen, I'm a little worried about these tires.
I mean, we're on 21-inch wheels.
Yeah.
Not exactly what you want for off-roading.
Pretty small little sidewall here. And certainly we do see that, look, she's a little stiff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Key is flying all over. Yeah. Okay, so what's our ground clearance?
We got 8.4 inches, which is not terrible, but not great if off-roading is what you're aiming for.
Your main goal, yeah, considering most Subarus at 8.7.
Yeah.
So look, we made it through the logs course. There's no doubt about that. It's pretty stiff.
Was it comfortable? No.
No. There's not a lot of compliance, and we see that a lot with these air suspension setups, especially in the off-road heights. The max heights is you got so much pressure in those bags, you end up topping out the suspension where you just don't have a lot of wheel travel. So yes, they do work. Yes, they do give you clearance, which is cool, but comfy?
No.
No, not so.
Absolutely not.
Hopping inside the Range Rover, Jen, walk us through some of the technology and design features in here.
So one of the first things you'll notice is how sleek and minimalist everything is. But to me, almost a little too minimalist because there are no buttons. Everything is through the touchscreen here.
Now, what's the size on the screen?
11.4 inches.
Okay, and this is the Pivi Pro system. Now, from my experience, it's actually pretty decent, especially compared to some of the older Land Rover systems. It's pretty snappy. Do you like the colors?
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
It really has some pretty decent resolution as well. And you got shortcuts for everything, like our heated seats here. But Jen is 100% on the money about one thing which drives me crazy, is like even the volume control is going to be digital.
Yeah. Yeah, I need a knob. I need something here.
I mean, you do have like some controls on the steering wheel,
Yeah.
but for the passenger, you're going to be futzing with this. One kind of cool feature is it does have like a little bit of a curve to it.
I did notice that.
So kind of flush against the dashboard, but literally, I mean, Jen's right, there's not a single button across the center stack except for your very basic transmission selector here. Now, let's talk about some of the other features that this Range Rover has. One of the interesting ones, I'm looking here at the Monroney, is the cold climate package, which gives you stuff like heated and cooled front seats, heated rear seats, and it gives you something really unique up here.
We got a heated windshield. You'll see these, it's got these heat grids that actually go vertically across the entire windshield.
So, Jen, that is something that people either really like because it means less scraping in the winter,
Of course.
or really hate because you're always looking through these teeny tiny lines. What's your perspective on that?
So when I first noticed it, it's all I could see. But after a few minutes of driving, I'm not focusing on it anymore. I don't really see it at all.
Okay, fair enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and push the start button here. We're going to bring that to life. Fully digital gauge cluster in here. So look, folks, digital is the name of the game today, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, everything is going to be computerized. There are a couple of important things which still have mechanical functions, like your windows, right?
Of course.
Locks. So it's not gone full Tesla on us. There's still a couple things. What do you think of the seats? You think they're comfortable?
They are very comfortable. You know, our ride up here, definitely very comfortable seats.
And what about the seating position? Like, do you have good visibility out of this car?
I do. I feel like I'm sitting high enough to where I'm not losing a whole bunch of visibility in the front. Doesn't feel like so much of a boat all the way up there.
And the steering wheel is kind of funky because I think it feels really good in the hand.
It does.
It looks like leather, but they make a big deal in actually pointing out this is not leather. Like, it's not cow on the steering wheel. It's a manufactured material. And then you've got these light up buttons on the steering wheel for your adaptive cruise control,
Right.
heated steering wheel. No, I think that it's a lot better. Like some of the early Range Rover crossovers, like the Evoque, were really squatty, had really small windows. I don't really get that impression in here.
No. From the outside, it gives an illusion that it's a lot bigger than it really is, but it doesn't feel small at all.
Yeah, and it doesn't have, my one dig on this, it doesn't have that kind of upright command seating position that the bigger Range Rovers have.
True.
Right? This still feels pretty low to the ground.
A little more lax. Yeah.
And then, last thing about technology is we do have a full suite of 3D surround cameras, so you can kind of do the video game thing, right, where you actually have a bird's eye view of your vehicle, which is pretty funky. And then we also have off-road cameras as well, so you can see like wheel position. So there's some pretty cool features in here.
All right, let's check out the back seat back here. For reference, I'm a little over 5'7", decent amount of headspace for me, and pretty decent space for my legs. If I were to extend my feel a bit more, they will touch. So longer trips might be a little bit more difficult, but for your everyday, this would be fine.
So this is the seat all the way back. If I go to my driving position at about 6 feet tall, like it's definitely going to extend rear seat room a little bit.
Oh yeah, this makes it a little nicer for sure.
But this is like, it's definitely not a Range Rover Sport, or even certainly not a full size in terms of room back there. So I think for kids, like pretty good for road trips. Like, could you spend a couple hours back there, Jen?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got my armrest, I got a cup holder, I even have heated seats back here.
Yeah, and one nice feature too are rear seat air vents. So if you have furry friends, you can keep them nice and cool.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Jen, next we're going to do trenches. And how would you describe these? Kind of like holes cut in the earth at different angles?
Yeah, it's definitely off-centered.
Yeah, so we're going to get a lot of articulation in this. We're going to see how the ground clearance is, but more importantly, how the four-wheel drive system reacts. So a couple things worth noting. This vehicle doesn't have a proper low-range transfer case, right? So it's not going to have that torque multiplication that you get on the full-size Range Rovers. It does have a pretty conventional automatic transmission. How many gears in this bad boy?
We got an 8-speed automatic.
Yeah, and first gear is geared pretty low, so that's definitely going to help us. One of the coolest things about this vehicle, though, Jen, just the sheer amount of information we see on the screen here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have various different camera settings, but we also have various different 4x4 info. So check this out. We've got like altitude, pitch, roll. We can see what the suspension's doing. We can see that center diff situation. So pretty cool stuff.
A lot of information provided for sure.
All right, so let's go into the mud ruts again. Let's try this all-terrain progress control, which I mistakenly called trail control earlier. Basically off-road cruise control. So I'm going to set that at its lowest speed, take my foot off the throttle, and we're just going to let the Range Rover do its thing. Cool?
It's trying.
Okay, there we go. On the throttle. Let's get that set here. Okay, so now it's going to be up to the car. So we got wheels lifted into the air, but that four-wheel drive system reacted super quick, right?
Yeah, it went in.
And now we got one more. We're going the wrong way. Okay, that is, the all-terrain progress control is not doing great
Not
here.
happy right now.
Maybe because I hit the brake. I think that's what happened. I got it all confused. Oh boy. So what's happening is, like, it's either too fast or rolling backwards.
Right.
I need like a super like slow setting. Press foot brake and set. Okay. On. Go.
Come on. You can do
There
it.
it goes.
You can do it.
Okay, now we got it at a nice slow speed. So that's the turbo kicking in a little. It's a little fast there, car. So I'm going to take over here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to use my foot, and let's see if we can get through it with just the foot control. Okay, way smoother, right? So we got the left front and the right rear in the hole, and you can definitely feel it working pretty hard here.
Feeling a little bit of slippage, but she's getting there.
It's pretty gosh darn impressive.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So that was really, really good.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so, well, a couple things we learned there. First of all, the off-road cruise control does work really well, but it's a little fast. And then the problem is, like, it builds up so much boost, and it gets you through one obstacle, and you go rocketing into the next.
Yeah.
Whereas when you use it with your foot, you can kind of gently modulate it.
You can feather it a little bit.
But we heard that turbo spooling up, right? And we actually had enough torque to kind of crawl that pretty smoothly.
Right.
So I want to try it one more time with just my foot. Let's just take all the computer stuff out of it and see if we can get a better result. Just keep her nice and smooth. That's cool. Still in the mud rut setting. One of the cool features too is there's a feature here where you can have like a top view of what's going on.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then it stitches what's underneath the car.
That's gorgeous.
Isn't
That's
that cool?
exactly what you want for any off-road application.
I know. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, off-road modes, mud ruts. Okay, cool. Ready?
Let's do it.
So what we're learning here, and I think Jen and I are both in agreement, is that this four-wheel drive system is incredible in the Velar. And this vehicle could go some really, really impressive places if it had more clearance,
Right.
better tires,
Smaller wheels.
smaller wheels.
Smaller wheels.
Exactly. And ideally some more underbody protection.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like someone has put a pretty thoroughbred athlete in like stilettos.
That's a great way to put it, Tommy.
You know, like this thing is capable of so much more than what we can realistically do with it because we're going to damage it.
A marathon runner in a tuxedo, if you will.
There you go. That's exactly right. So the tech is here, the screen information is here, the cameras are here, but some of the hardware is just not present.
No.
So pop in the trunk of the Velar, of course, power lift gate. One thing worth noting though is this does not have the split gate that some of its bigger siblings have. But Jen, what's the space back here?
We got 30.9 cubic feet.
Okay, so not bad. And then let's show the folks how the rear seats go down.
Pretty nice pull tab up here. Comes down pretty easily.
And is that a flat loading space between the seat and the trunk? It looks pretty flat.
It's not bad. It's got a little bit of an incline, but it's pretty flat for the most part.
Now this vehicle does have that kind of weather protection group, so we do have a huge mat here in the trunk. And then if we pull up on the floor, you're gonna find a spare tire. Space saver, it's a steel wheel, but still kind of nice to have. And then the last thing I want to talk about is towing capacity.
We got 5,000 pounds of towing capacity.
Which is really not bad for kind of this small, medium-sized-ish luxury crossover. 5K is pretty good.
Not bad.
So we're out of the hardcore off-roading onto some more dirt road and then paved road stuff. And let's talk about some of the driving dynamics. So Jen, if you had to describe the Velar in one word, how would you describe the way this car drives?
I would say it's pretty comfortable.
Comfy!
Comfy. I'm just gonna say comfy.
Yeah, I like that as well. You know, the suspension, when you're not in the off-road height, is pretty supple. It's not floaty though, right?
No, it's not too floaty. The body roll is not too bad. The steering is not that tight. I would say it's a little loose, but it's still pretty comfortable.
There's not like a ton of steering feel, which is kind of to be expected in this class.
Right.
I mean, I'd say if folks want the most performance-oriented small to mid-size crossover, what should they go for?
Probably closer to a Porsche Macan.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's just a more dynamic, engaging driving experience. But if you want something that offers a lot of comfort and luxury, even on this dirt road we're cruising down now at 33 miles an hour, super quiet in here.
Even on 21-inch wheels.
Yeah, so really a refined place to spend some time. And I think as a daily driver, this would be pretty awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So we're gonna try out this 2-liter turbo, see if it's enough. I'm putting Jen in the dynamic mode, Jen. Give her all she's got, give her heck. Okay, so.
Slow to start.
Not a lot from idle to like 1500 RPM, and then you get a huge wave of torque from the turbo, and it kind of peters out up top. Would you describe this car as quick?
No, Tommy,
No.
I would not.
I would not either. So we're looking at what, just under 250 horsepower?
Yeah, 249.
And it's adequate. Certainly driving around town, certainly cruising on the highway, 75, 80, like you're not gonna feel a lack of power. It's just like that passing punch.
Right. From the start, there's not much there to give.
Right, there's a little bit of turbo lag too. If you were in the market for this car, is this enough power, or would you upgrade to the 6-cylinder?
I'd be going to the inline 6 for sure.
Why is that?
I need a little bit more, especially from that start.
Okay, interesting. Now I'm a 85-year-old man, so I would probably want to save the money and just get the 2-liter. But Jen does bring up a good point that, like, you know, if you're spending this money, maybe you should spend a little bit more and get the 6-cylinder, because what's the sticker on this car?
With these options, we're looking at $76,000.
Kind of a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And starting?
Starting at 62.
Yeah, so certainly there are things that have raised the price of this one, even with the base engine, like the cold weather pack, the technology pack, the air suspension group, right? Like all of those do jack the price up, but I mean, we're talking some pretty serious money.
Pretty big money for a 2-cylinder 4-liter, or I'm sorry, 2-liter 4-cylinder engine.
Yeah, it would be bad news if it was a 2-cylinder.
No, yeah, it would be.
So Jen, let's talk about some of the highlights and maybe some of the lowlights of the Range Rover. So what's one thing you think that that would prevent you from buying this car?
The lack of buttons,
Okay.
without a doubt.
And why is that?
Well, for me, if I'm looking to do something quickly, like adjust the temperature, I now have to remove my eyes from the road completely to look at the touchscreen. Whereas if there are physical buttons I can feel, I can maneuver around without actually averting my gaze completely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it would be a deal killer for me, but I think that's a really good point. To a lot of people, it would be. Some things I struggle with a little bit on this car. Velars do, as with a lot of Range Rover products, tend to suffer from pretty significant depreciation.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think the way to buy this car would to buy one like CPO'd, right?
Yeah, right.
Let someone take that initial first year hit and then save that, whatever it is, tens of thousands of dollars in some case, and still get the experience with a warranty. That's a big deal.
I think you're right, Tommy.
I think the hit for me on this car is I think these Velars are just so attractive. They're such a good looking design, right?
Right.
This kind of small luxury crossover category, a lot of these cars have kind of stubby hoods and the dash to axle ratio is a little off. This car's got this beautiful long hood. It's got this elegant roofline. It's just a very good looking car.
It is. And like I said before, it gives it the illusion that it's a little bigger than it really is.
Yeah, right. You look at it coming down the road, it's got a lot of presence, and the 21-inch wheels wouldn't be my choice, but they do give it a really cool stance.
That is true.
And then I think another highlight for me is it does feel very premium. Not saying that the other cars in this class, like the BMW and the Audi and the Mercedes and the Lexus, don't, but it's got its own unique kind of upmarket feel.
It does.
That makes it feel different.
Yeah.
Like so many of these other luxury cars in this class, especially the Japanese, the Infiniti and the Lexus, they feel more or less similar to each other, right?
Right.
Front-wheel drive, biased all-wheel drive system, luxury interiors, some design, but maybe not a differentiated feel, where this Range Rover feels totally detached from the others in this class.
Yeah, you've got this padded dash, this black chrome accent everywhere. It's quite beautiful.
So if you want a really unique car that definitely stands out from the rest, get this one. I just don't think there's a ton of value here, right? Like, it's $76 is a lot of money.
It's a pretty high price for what you're getting.
So maybe stick more toward the base level of the Velar, and you might be in better shape.
Yeah.
And Jen, what's the fuel economy on this Velar?
Combined, we're looking at 23 miles per gallon.
Yeah, and if you want to save some money at the pump, the 4-cylinder is definitely the way to go, because the inline 6 is going to be more like high teens.
Yes. Thanks for watching. Head over to alltfl.com for all new and used car videos.
Yep, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Thanks. We'll see you next time.